All right, welcome back here, folks. Live stream is back up and running. Had to go down here just a little bit ago. Also doing a update here on this fine Wednesday, June 26, 2024. It's about 12:16 p.m. California time. Latest activity here on the globe shows a 3.1 into the area of Chile. Taking a look at the last 24 hours of earthquake activity here on the globe does show some calming conditions here globally. Not a whole lot of major uptick out here. Let's go ahead and cover California first, where we are starting to light up here in the last hour. Notice the red circles here indicating the most recent earthquake activity. The latest one here, a 2.2 earthquake right across the Bodfish area. This region up here, this White Wolf Fault Zone, has been seeing a little bit of uptick here recently. Of course, this is a region also a little bit further back over here is where we've seen some swarming in the last couple days. Let's bring up the last week or so of activity, and it appears as though there's definitely some strain building up here across this area north of the Garlock Fault shear zone here. And this earthquake fault, or this fault system here, definitely capable of producing some sizable earthquakes. I believe there is a relationship between potentially a triggering sequence here of the San Andreas Fault if one or the other goes. Of course, the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault here has not seen any major full-scale rupture in over 300 years, and the central section up here, since about 1857, they had a what was that? The 7.5, if I remember. And the regular reoccurrence interval here on the central section is roughly about 150 years or so, and it's been well over 150 years since the 1857 activity here. So we're definitely getting some strain out here across the west coast. Got to watch these little areas of interest here away from the plate boundary, in areas where we would expect some strain to be building up as well, just off the plate boundary and north of that major shear zone here. That's the Garlock Fault shear zone. Ridgecrest area still seeing a couple earthquakes out here as well. Let me zoom in here, see what we got. Looks like a 1.3 on the Little Lake Fault Zone here. Further down south, across the extreme southern portion of the state, got one earthquake here near the Redlands area. Mentone region, a 1.2. Typical movement up and down the state here, or at least the fault system of Southern California, the San Jacinto Fault Zone. Always seen a lot of earthquake activity. Over the last 7 days, though, it's been somewhat elevated in certain regions. Specifically on several segments here of the San Jacinto Fault Zone. And of course, Los Angeles Basin area has seen a handful of swarms over there as well, with about 283 earthquakes out here in the last 7 days. Overall, the past couple weeks have been heightened with almost 1,000 earthquakes here in the last 30 days. And that's just California alone. You can see where a lot of the strain is building up here. These secondary faults that run parallel with the plate boundary on the Pacific side of the plate boundary, of course. All that is ultimately adding further strain here against this red dark line, which is the San Andreas Fault. So keep an eye on it, right? Someone asked me, why are we keeping an eye on things? Well, I think scientists and geologists, if they were to close their eyes and just ignore stuff, well, then what good would that be, right? We always got to keep it hopeful, not a hopeful, but an open eye on things that may be of interest. And we have seen quite a bit of swarming out here recently in various areas. So to be blind to this would be foolish, to say the least. So I'm always watching things, always. Here along the creeping segment of the San Andreas Fault, got a little 1.8 near Pinnacles. Northern California, another earthquake up here along the Macama Fault near Laytonville, a 1.9. Nothing major going on here across the Cascadia for now. Tremor activity yesterday along the Cascadia consisted of, let's see what we got here, make sure the bells are off, which they are, about 342 epicenters, right? We've seen a lot of tremor out here recently along the Cascadia, and this too would be foolish to say, to just say, well, whatever happens, happens, deal with it. That's just not a scientific or a geologist perspective. So we're always watching things. It's always good to watch things that take place out in the Pacific as well. The Axial Seamount is it's an area of interest out here, well off the coast of Oregon. And I posted this last night for anyone that wanted to read it. We're getting quite a bit of inflation going on and an elevated earthquake swarm here across this underwater volcano, a seamount, right? And that is just off of the Cascadia subduction zone to the west here, up about the northern end of the Juan de Fuca Ridge. There's quite a few seamounts out here, but the main area of interest is going to be right here, the Axial Seamount. I posted that here on the Google Earth page, or Google Earth program, and it has seen an eruption here recently. In fact, back in 2000, let's see where we were at. See, 2018, I believe, is the last one. It's located 300 miles west of Astoria, Oregon, and a mile under the ocean. It erupted 3 times in the past 25 years. So I was looking at the real-time data, and they believe that an optimistic forecast, so to speak, on this should be between 2025 or 2026, possibly sooner, depending on the amount of earthquake activity. Now, this is not going to be a violent underwater explosive eruption. This is going to be just a slow oozing of magma from the seafloor below up to the oceanic seafloor, right? And that creates new lands and whatnot. But it's a sign of impending pressure and magma underneath this area. I'm going to bring up the data here. This is the Axial Seamount Earthquake Catalog, and here is the past 30 days. Quite a bit. We never hear about it, right? We never see it out here on the Earthquake 3D globe. This is specifically just a different type of monitoring system here that I guess maybe only a few select people have access to, because I haven't seen any of these earthquakes pop up out here. But they have, as you can see. There's a lot here in the last 30 days around that seamount, past 7 days as well. The past week, or past 24 hours here, still got some earthquake activity out here. So this is ramping up. If you look at long-term trending models here, we are going up and up and up here since about April. And if we were to go back even further and further in terms of eruption activity, look at this here. This is the 2014 to 2024. 2015 eruption right here. And it does look like we had seen periods of uptick, but no eruption up until about now. Look at that. We're similar to the amount of earthquakes per day in earthquakes per 10 days as we were back prior to the explosion or the eruption back in 2015 there at that seamount. So we're getting close. I'm just going to be watching it. I don't think I can pull up any type of data on that as far as watching the seismograph stations. I'm sure they have some type of monitoring station there around the area mounted on the sea floor somewhere, but I don't know if I can access that. It'd be kind of cool to check it out. The last time the Axial Seamount erupted was in 2015. Almost immediately after the eruption, scientific instruments around the volcano showed that the surface was rising up, inflating like a balloon, an indication that magma chamber had started to rapidly fill up again, and so it looked as if the volcano was headed towards another eruption. Seeing this rapid inflation, they expected it to be erupting between 2020 and 2024, but with things going down, it didn't erupt, right? We had seen that take place there on these charts there in 2019, 2020. A little bit of uptick, but now we're pretty much solid in terms of the amount of earthquakes. So we'll watch it, right? I keep saying that because I got a comment here on one of my most recent videos. Why do we keep saying we're going to watch things and nothing happens? Well, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to just not even report on anything? Are we supposed to just turn a blind eye to everything? No, you have to watch it and report it. All about science and geology is monitoring. Okay, we'll just monitor it, right? Maybe they don't like the words "watch it," so we'll monitor things out here and see how it goes. Does that sound a little bit better? Okay. Yeah, it's just some of these comments out here. I appreciate the majority of the comments. The majority are positive. I go through them all the time. I don't reply to everyone out here, but I try to get to them. To most of you folks out here when I have time. I even read those negative comments there. Not really a negative, but the guy was like, if we're watching things and nothing happens, I don't want anything bad to happen. It's almost like they're waiting for something bad to happen, like they're hoping for something bad to happen. I keep an eye on the data and report it as such, and that's that. We look at trends and whatnot, and we go from there. Okay, also another question here. Someone asked me about Mount Adams over here. That's a very interesting volcano because that volcano is a beautiful volcano. Look at that. Viewed from the west-northwest here in the Washington area. I looked up some specific data here to see if I can find some seismograph stations and whatnot, but there's not a whole lot. The remoteness of this volcano is, I guess, the reason why they can't get a whole lot of monitoring stations up here. But I would be willing to hike out there, set some stuff up, maybe some solar monitoring stations there. But yeah, it's a very interesting volcano. It hasn't erupted since 950 CE Common Era here, so over 1,000 years, right? Let me see here. In more than 1,000 years. It's not considered extinct. It is the second highest mountain in Washington after Mount Rainier. And obviously there's ways to get up here, right? Because they took those panoramic views. Glaciers have obviously shaped that volcano throughout time. But when we go over to is it this one, Mount Adams? Beautiful, absolutely stunning, beautiful volcano. There's no data to monitor. There's one inoperable seismograph station out here. It doesn't work. All the other seismograph stations are out here across Mount St. Helens. Look at that. No GPS stations. No. What's going on? I mean, how are we supposed to know if anything is of interest? We just wait until it goes? That wouldn't be good. Let me see if... well, I don't think this would have it either. No, it doesn't. I mean, the closest one here is in Glenwood, it looks like. That is... that's a little weird. Hold on a second here. All right, sorry about that, folks. It's wondering why the AC shut off here in the computer room. It was on economy mode. So yeah, we do have one GPS station now over here. Where'd it go? Did it already pop up here? Hold on a second here. For some reason I'm getting some errors with that. Not for sure why, but I am. Popped up for a second, and then things start going haywire here electrically. What's going on? Oh, I see why. There we go. Let's try this again. Sometimes it's user error. In that case it was. Okay, 2024 around the this volcano, but this is a ways off, not really going to show any type of huge inflation going on way out here. There's got to be something closer up here. I don't understand why this is not covered as far as, Mount Adams. Also, the Glacier Peak up here is another volcano concern. I don't understand it. There's no GPS stations around, and same with the seismograph stations. I think there was only one out there that was working, but Mount Adams is like the forgotten volcano, and that's a hazardous volcano. It has some potential out there, but it's just left out there in the remote wilderness. I would love to go out there, spend a couple days out there hiking. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's remote, right? So maybe that's why there's not a whole lot of monitoring stations out there. But it should be, because someone was asking me about some type of recent steam vent. I mean, At any volcano, you're going to have some type of vents going on there. Mount Lassen has these steam vents as well, these some boiling sulfur pots. And, it's an obvious sign of the heated area below. Even though it's not eruption, there's still quite a bit of heat below the surface there and whatnot to provide the water in the ground to boil up. But yeah, there definitely should be more equipment out there to monitor that. All right, earthquake activity up there looks like about the same. Mount St. Helens area, Mount Rainier, seeing a little bit of earthquake activity as well. Nothing major, just a little bit of decent swarming going on there around Mount St. Helens. Last 30 days here shows about 155 earthquakes here. The swarm has been going on for probably about 2 months, off and on. Nothing big, but the consistency of the depth of these earthquakes and the little microquakes here at depth indicate the potential of magma recharging the system below. So we're not going to see this thing pop anytime soon, but it could be a good indicator here of this thing ramping up in the future. As always, we will monitor it. Keep an eye on it. We'll watch it. All right. I probably lost a subscriber there. He didn't sound very happy, but, we got to watch these things, right? I need to not pay attention to that. Okay, Yellowstone National Park. Super volcano, right? I really never say, yeah, we'll watch Yellowstone, right? Because there's nothing of interest. But when it comes to certain volcanoes and seeing elevated activity, of course we want to watch it. Okay, Yellowstone. Yellowstone. See what we got. A couple earthquakes out here. Really nothing major. Looks like 8 of them. We can check the specific data here and see what's going on. Looks like this station here, it still looks messed up. It doesn't look like anybody's messed with it. It looks like it's just offline and going haywire. Same for this station over here. We do have wind picking up again, looks like, in a big way. Look at that, showing up across the promontory. Don't believe me? Well, I like facts. I'm a man of my word, and facts are I was trying to make that rhyme somehow, but I just couldn't. Wind gust. All right, what do we got? Wind kicking up here again. Seems like it's always windy up here around Yellowstone. 35-mile-per-hour gusts locally higher here across some areas of Wyoming. And that's what we see out there. Environmental noise kicking up here as it did yesterday. A lot of times when these thunderstorms pop up, it'll be a mess of a signal as well on there. So lots of wind, earthquake activity, and right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. 5 little earthquakes. That activity did show up on Holmes Hill. Shows up here on Norris Junction. Showed up on Purple Mountain. And that's about it. Those are very small microquakes. And in fact, the USGS did mention those there. As you can see, very small. And they didn't show up across the majority of the stations because the size. These are very small earthquakes, all under a 1.0. But they did show up, and the USGS did report them. Pretty awesome. Across Texas there, oil fields getting hit once again. Little oil field activity out here in Oklahoma as well. And New Madrid seismic zone, 1 earthquake outside of this area near Lynn, Arkansas, 1.6 this morning. A couple smaller earthquakes out here at the East Coast as well. 2.1 in Madisonville, Tennessee from yesterday, and a 2.1 up in the New York area, Crown Heights area. Got to remember, this area has seen some recent earthquake activity there around New Jersey, right? Don't really see it on this last map here, but these are all last 30 days. These are all aftershocks. We would have to go back the last couple months to see that somewhat larger activity. Not large, but, earthquake activity that these folks are not used to. This area does sit in a U.S. hazard zone. We can see earthquakes anywhere. And some of these can be rather big out here around the New Madrid seismic zone, South Carolina. There has been earthquake activity up here in New York, Boston area as well. So yeah, earthquakes can occur anywhere. But right now, it's just a handful of them scattered out and about every once in a while. If this was turning into some type of swarm, we'd be looking at some more in-depth studies and videos as to what's causing them. You know, there's fault systems all over the place. North of Iceland here, got a little swarm of activity here. Some from yesterday near the Jan Mayen area. I don't know if that's having any effect on the Iceland activity or not, which has come to a halt officially. Still got some hot lava tubes out there across the area, but you know what I look for here across Iceland is increasing activity across the rift zones, more specifically down here south of the Grindavik area. That would tell me that things are going to start ramping up here fast, but I'm not seeing that. So let's go over and check out the latest Svartsengi GPS inflation chart, and that tells us right there whether we're going up or we're going down. And this is the vertical displacement here. Here's the eruption that happened back in the end of May, early June. Notice during the eruption here, we kept going down and down and down. A little bit different than last time. We're starting to go back up here, and more so since the eruption has halted completely, right? We've sealed up that area there, that one active crater that went on for 24 days. I think it was 24 days, pretty sure. And we're starting to go back up now, but not at the previous level seen there in terms of rapid inflation. So hard to say with certainty whether we're going to see things come to an eruption stage once again here anytime soon. We got a little ways to go, though, before we get to that point. Down in the Caribbean area, Caribbean plate, showing some twos out here. Really nothing of major interest. Some deeper activity there into the South America region. That's a super deep earthquake there off the globe. Hawaii. Let's see what's going on out here real quick. What do we got there? California. A couple small earthquakes. Definitely lighten up here in the last hour. The Hawaii area, still seeing some movement out here. Looks like a 1.8 and a 2.2. Nothing of major activity yet. 3.1, 3.2. Some of these fairly deep, indicating the weight of the Hawaii Islands out here on the oceanic crust, the Pacific plate there. Let's go check out the volcano real quick and see what's up there across the area of the big island of Hawaii. I heard it's beautiful all year out there. I've never been out to Hawaii. One of these days I need to get out there. Would love to experience it. I just don't like flying over water. I don't like it. Inflation out here. Let's see what we got for the latest deformation data. And similar to Iceland, but you know, this is way different. This is a hot spot. But either way, when magma comes up to the surface and raises up the land, we look for signs of it in the vertical displacement. And this is the upward trend at the Kilauea Summit and the East Rift Zone over the past month. Here's a little eruption that popped there on the Southwest Rift Zone for about 12 hours back in earlier this month. Short-lived eruption. Since then, we've been going up and up and up rapidly. So we're at an all-time high, and at the highest level observed there across the Summit and Upper East Rift Zone since 2018. So if that in itself doesn't tell you something, well, you know, I don't know what else I could point out. We're getting elevated here, and things are should be happening pretty quickly. And the key to watching that is going to be where this earthquake activity is kind of showing signs of stress. Right now, it's been holding steady here across the Upper East Rift Zone here. I think, not 100% certain, but I think that's where we may see some activity open up here as far as fissure vents go soon. But I'm not 100%. If I seen this kicking up to 100 earthquakes or so a day in this area, yeah. But we're only seeing a handful of them, indicating some stress in the area, maybe some weak areas out there across this area of Kilauea Volcano, just to the Upper East Rift Zone. And then again, we could see maybe some type of magma displacement out here or even down to the south. The Helena Slump is a little concerning because we don't want something happening out here and get some ultimate landslides going on. So, like everything else, we will monitor it. I got to get used to saying monitor instead of watching. Fiji area, 4.7, fairly deep earthquake. This area has been rocking and rolling with a lot of deep earthquake activity here in the past couple days. Very typical. This is where all the deep activity tends to really kick up and then it just advances from here, and the whole cycle continues of earthquake strain across this area once again. And this area will definitely watch this throughout the next couple days. It's been lacking somewhat in earthquake activity out here, but there's been a 4 and 5 pointer. But this deeper activity should be leading to some further strain here across the plate boundary. Kind of makes sense because that's where all the directional plate movement is going. These are GPS arrows indicating the general direction of the plate movement, the Pacific plate here and the Australia plate and so on. Pacific plate moves awfully quickly here. These arrows indicating some lengthy plate movement. Java Trench area, I think these were from last night, which they were. Nothing overnight in the Andaman Sea area. A couple earthquakes up further around the bend, just kind of following that trail of migration here of quakes recently, working its way up along the plate boundary. China and also this area over here towards the India area, excuse me. Couple earthquakes there in Afghanistan, the deeper regions of Afghanistan once again. Mediterranean, looks like typical activity out there, some 2s and 3s. The Atlantic Ocean, fairly quiet aside from the area up north of Iceland here. There's a couple earthquakes here on the globe down south here of the border in the Mexicali area, it looks like. Now, USGS not showing that, but that's important because that's activity that could be working its way up here along the plate boundary throughout the day today. Those look like they happened earlier this morning. So keep an eye here, Southern California. It's been of interest here recently, right? Eventually one's going to go, but during periods of increasing activity, it's good to be mindful. It's good to be watchful. In fact, it's good to be watchful anytime. It doesn't matter if it's geology or something else, right? You always have to be watchful of your surroundings, your life in general. Earthquakes, geology, space. Speaking of space, what do we got going on here? Massive sunspot here, 3723 is it looks like it's dying out, to be honest. This was the area of interest here, and it has been for the third trip around the sun. This is a sunspot here, formerly 3664, 3697, renamed now that it's come back around again to 3723, and it's looking not good. It's looking like it's tired, it's drained, it just wants to fade away and let some other sunspot have the all the fame and fortune that comes with the sunspot, spotlight on the sunspot. There's really not, it doesn't look like it's gaining any steam or momentum in terms of further complexity, unfortunately, but hey, it's done quite a bit, and it provided me here in Northern California last month with my first viewing ever of the auroras down here in the Northern California outside of Chico. Beautiful colors with the naked eye. Pink, beautiful pink. I remember seeing a lot of pink up there in the sky. Aside from that area of potential interest, that's not really looking likely, but all these other ones are a bunch of disorganized, a huge mess of sunspots out here, but really nothing of complexity. And that is that. Our overall threat is going down here. X flare at 5%, M flare at 55%, C flare around 99% chance or so. We did see a little bit of C flare activity here overnight, but really nothing of major concern. Not looking at any specific auroras in the forecast here. Maybe what's going on here? 4 to 5 G1 class storm way late on the 28th of June. Let me see here. TTD. Here we go. We'll see what's causing that. On the 28th. Okay, it barely looks like there was some type of CME activity here recently We're just barely going to get a little glancing blow from that CME. It's probably going to be away from Earth. It looks like the majority of that plasma cloud is heading away from Earth, but they're forecasting potentially maybe a little uptick here in space weather activity in terms of auroras around the 28th, late 28th UTC time. But again, not really expecting much. Those near misses normally end up to be nothing at all. And far as the far side watch goes, well, there's not a whole lot. I know there's not a whole lot of big sunspot areas out here that have just gone off the western limb. There was those three, remember? There was three complex sunspots out there. They're still way out there on the western limb. Got a ways to go before they come back around the bend, but there's really no huge areas of interest that I can see out there on the far side of the sun for now. All right, what do we got else? What else we got here? Any asteroids heading our way? Any major asteroids? I don't think so. Well, there's big ones coming, but luckily this one here is a good distance away. That's a 7,200-foot asteroid, a bridge-size asteroid. I think that would do more damage to the Earth than the bridge would, but they're comparing it to a size of a bridge. I guess that's a little odd, but that's a big one. But luckily, that's going to pass us here safely tomorrow at 4,130,000 miles. Really no close call asteroids here in terms of closeness. Everything looks, a good distance away here. Far as Storm Prediction Center goes here, severe weather activity. A couple regions out here. 2% chance up into the Pennsylvania area, it looks like. New York's actually in there as well. Newark, New Jersey, Jersey City. These areas got a 2% chance for tornado. That's not the biggest threat today. It looks like main threat's going to be some wind and a little bit of hail, but there is that 2% chance for tornadoes. So keep your eye there on the sky. Keep your weather radio handy as well. For tomorrow here on Wednesday, we have a more prominent area potential tornado activity with a 5% zone up here around the northern plains. Big time wind and hail threats in there as well. Far as the tropical systems go here in the eastern Pacific, no cyclone activity expected in the next 48 hours. Out here in Hawaii, nada. The Atlantic Ocean, well, there's two areas here, really not expecting much. That's still, well, this is bumped up from 0 to a 10% chance of tropical development here in the next 48 hours. That's way out there in the Atlantic. This one down here towards the Caribbean has a 10% chance of development as well. But we'll watch these forecast models and see what they trend to. But really nothing of any major threat out here for now. Alaska area, forgot to cover this morning, but definitely see some earthquake uptick out here across this area. Mainly deeper quakes here across the Aleutian Trench in this area. Been a while since we've seen any major earthquake activity out there, right? Last 30 days does show that area of interest. I'm kind of curious, when was our last, not the 8-pointer in 2019, that was pretty close to, let's just go 6-pointer, and the last 10 years. I just want to look at this specific area of the Aleutian Trench out here. I know back over here we've seen that 8-pointer back in 2019 there. Maybe it was right about here, but I just want to look here specifically just for fun, see what we have out there. And let's see, it looks like a 6.1 back in 2023, into 2023, 6.4 October, and then prior to that, it looks like we have at least a 6-pointer every year in that area. You guys notice that? There's 2 in 2020, 2 in 2021, 2 in 2022, and 2 in 2023. So what does that tell you? Could be seeing maybe some 6-pointers out here soon. It's a major subduction zone, and it doesn't take hundreds of years to build up strain across this area. Average slip rate can run 60 over here to the east, 71 or even higher here across this area of the subduction zone in terms of slip rate. So, I think we'll see a 6 out here soon. It may be leading to that with all this little uptick in earthquake activity out here. As far as large scale movement goes, though, 7.9 earthquake, 2014, in that same area. All right, what else we got here, folks? I think that is about it. Seismograph stations out here, pretty quiet, not a whole lot going on. And we'll watch things. We'll watch today, see what happens, right? 4-pointer coming into the Turkey area, it looks like. 4.2 just off the Turkey area, it looks like. Hard to tell. Let me see. EMSC data. There we go. Okay, yeah, it's outside the Turkey area in the Aegean Sea. This is a Mediterranean model showing the typical earthquake activity out here. I've not seen any major swarms out here in the volcanic fields. Just it follows the plate boundary, and you can see where the earthquakes are along that plate boundary. All right, folks, have a good day. We'll catch you guys back out here later. I just popped up a pretty large brisket on the smoker. Put that on about 8 o'clock this morning, so it should be ready about 8 o'clock this evening. Should be a yummy dinner. I'm trying apple wood chips with it, seeing how it comes out. I normally use a darker, bold-tasting flavor like cherry or black walnut bark, but I'm going to try apple this time and just see how it comes out. I like to experiment a little bit with my meat and see what it does to the flavor. Either way, it should be pretty yummy. Be about 8 o'clock this evening if I haven't sent out any invites yet, but who knows? Maybe one of these days we'll definitely have a nice little barbecue. Have a good one, folks. We'll catch you guys back out here later tonight. Take care. Stay safe out there, and we will watch things, no doubt.